I'd like to open the Public Works Committee meeting at 6:30. I'd like to make a motion to consider approval of the minutes of the Public Works Committee held on June 11, 2019, and the Special Public Works Committee held on June 18, 2019. Have a
So
second?
moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. 3, discuss waste and recycling contract. Pat?
Thank you, trustee Lance. Our current refuse contract expires the 30th September 2019. We put out a RFP in April with a closing date of May 31. We did receive 3 qualified proposals. 3 qualified proposals from Homewood Disposal Services, Waste Management, and Public Services. We are recommending that we retain Homewood Disposal for the $24.49 first year fee. It's $1 less than our current fee is right now. And we would like to negotiate an 8-year contract for them for a monthly, starting at the $24.49 with a 3.5 annual escalator. Included in this price currently as we're doing now, the single-family unlimited refuse, recycling, and landscape waste, collection of the bulk items. Some of the new things that were added to this are disabled veteran discount, senior citizen discount, Christmas tree collection, e-waste collection, and condo townhome optional service for the condos or townhomes that want to opt in through the HOA. So we're giving that option out there for them to take part in the contract also. It would be a lower rate for them, but they will be included if they want to get into it. So what we're looking for is to move this to the board meeting next week, so we could approve an 8-year contract with Homewood Disposal.
So the Condo and Townhouse Association, their rates are gonna be lowered too by joining in with us?
Yeah, their rates are $21.50, $22, somewhere in that range, and it will include recycling. Right now, some of the associations do not include recycling. This one will, this price will include it.
Okay. Thanks. It looks like
We
that.
also have some of the representatives from Homewood Disposal here, also if you have any questions.
Looks like they added a lot. Disabled veterans discount. Did you guys,
I just had a question. Is there any figures on what the discount would be for seniors?
What we're looking is a 5% discount for seniors, and then also 100% disabled veterans would be free.
Oh, great.
Wow, okay.
That's very good. I'm just wondering when I become a senior.
do you guys have anything to say? All right. Well, thank you for your service to the town, cleaning up our garbage, and adding a couple of these were really important to people. The e-waste was huge, and most importantly is the disabled veteran and senior discount, so thanks. If no one has any other, go ahead.
Does the Environmental Commission want to say anything, or?
I was just kind of wondering, recycling, as far as paper and cardboard and all that, would pretty much stay the same then as well?
Correct.
Okay, and then, I know it's longer term plans, but anything as far as the question said that used to be there would be about the only other topic that keeps on coming up.
You're talking about like the Public Works site before?
Yeah. Like, I know that's something that keeps on coming up, like public events.
John,
or
do
else.
you have anything to add to that?
I know it's kind of a tough one.
Yeah, that definitely was a tough one we were dealing with, as it being just a recycling site, it turned into a public dump. The amount of TVs and then all the other hazardous waste that was dropped off caused us not only a labor burden, but a fiscal burden on us by having it there. As much as we tried to offer the benefit to the village, it cost us more than it was really worth in our opinion.
Okay.
And I think in their e-waste program, they're allowing 2 TVs per year per household, at no cost. So that's a big thing. And then we'll work with them in our marketing department to get all the particulars, of how that'll be handled and
Okay.
things like that. So.
Very good, thank you.
Sorry, I don't know the representatives, but how much is it for e-waste? How much is it every time you guys come pick a TV up? What's the cost to you guys?
The cost to us?
The cost to you guys,
the village, it's all
exactly.
included.
What's the cost?
Well,
Is that any size?
Yes.
Any type?
Any type.
If anybody still has the old tube box?
We picked up several.
Okay.
Okay.
That
Alright.
also
Anything, Bill?
with, general household electronics, like computers and all that.
When they schedule a TV, they put any of that stuff on.
Okay. All right, so we've got a scheduled services. That's
Yes.
on Curbside. Okay.
Wait, I'm sorry, can you repeat that? I didn't
Would you
get,
mind, could you come to the mic so we can, your question?
Yeah, so I was just kind of curious, if it was a curbside pickup for recycling, or if it would be more so like an on-call, door pickup, and it seems like it would be a door pickup.
Hi, Frank Hilligans with Home Disposal. Thanks for having us tonight. Yes, residents can call us. It has to be picked up with a separate truck. We're going to limit to 2 TVs, and we're going to ask any residents if you have 1 or 2 TVs, whatever you have for that pickup, put all the rest of your electronic items with it. There's a Illinois definition of e-waste, which will be included. There's 28 items on it. Push comes to shove, if a resident calls and says, hey, I got 2 DVD players and a VCR, come get it. We'll schedule. We'll come by. We'll get it. I mean, that's how we work. So
like computer monitors and all that too?
Yep. That's included a TV actually. You know, it's
Okay.
really treated the same. So it goes from your rear projection 60-inch televisions from 1983 to, flat screens up today. So, yep, we'll get the e-waste for you.
Okay.
Great. Anything else?
Yep.
No, my only other question is just the condo and the townhome association. Is there any, Pat, do you have any idea what the lowered rates would look like for them?
Yeah, it comes out to, about $22.50, if they were individually gonna do it on their own, or, and then $21 per unit if it's through a homeowners association. I believe that's the way that it's in, there's 2 different prices, so 21 or 22.50.
Okay.
And the ideal thing would be getting the homeowners association
Right.
together on it,
Okay.
Because I think a lot of them run by Michael, is that how they, how do you guys, how's that currently done now? Everybody has to go under the one program, right?
Yeah, the association typically contracts.
So it'd be very rare that an individual would probably be able to do it if they wouldn't do the homeowners association.
Right.
But they give 2 different prices, $22.50 if it was an individual, 21 if it was through an association.
Got it. Okay.
And this one includes recycling, because sometimes they don't. Some do, so.
Is there anything on like paint or thinners or any of that hazardous stuff?
Yes. They've got that in there also.
Okay.
Nothing further. I'll make a motion to send this to the next week's village board meeting. 8-year commitment of a 3.5% annual escalator. Got a second?
Second?
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 4, discuss crack ceiling. John, could you handle that?
Yes, sir, thank you. This is a renewal of a contract that was bid out last year for the PMP portion of crack sealing, which is where they fill in the cracks on their streets. Denler was the awarded bidder last year with the option for 2 renewable years of services. We're requesting that the committee forwards this to the board for approval for an additional year of service for $125,240 to Denler.
Any questions? I'll make a motion then to send this to next week's board meeting. Have a second?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 5, John, discuss hydrant painting.
Okay, this is for our annual hydrant painting service that we released as an RFQ last year. It was awarded to Kreider Enterprises. The RFQ was intended to be renewable for 3 one-year contracts. This verbiage was missed in the issue copy when we issued it. We are asking that the committee approve the additional year and waive a bidding process. Kreider has agreed to keep the original listed price of $83 a hydrant. We did contact a few painters to see if there was going to be any competition to those prices for the sandblasting and painting. And any of the other painters we contacted told us that they would not be able to meet that price. So we're asking that the committee waives the competitive bidding price and then do an annual continuation of our services from Kreider to paint hydrants in the amount not to exceed $117,130.
Okay. Pat, you wanna?
Sure, yeah, and as John mentioned, we mentioned waiving competitive bidding, that's always within the board's rights. Here, I think it makes perfect sense, you have a company that's out here mobilized, the bid went out last year, essentially semantics between the RFP and a bid, but to get it right for the renewal, we are recommending that you do waive the competitive bidding process. Nothing changes at the board meeting, it'll just be some extra language on the approving resolutions. It'll say waive competitive bidding and award the contract to this, but here this makes perfect sense, we believe.
John, do you have anything in here, we've spoke before about doing the certified payroll before we release funds?
So I have spoke with all of my superintendents to verify that certified payroll is issued before releasing any pay apps.
Okay,
So-
they'll go for all public work items. Okay,
Yes.
and then just CC me on them, would you?
Yes, sir.
Any questions, guys?
Well, sounds good.
Make a motion to send the hydrant painting to the next week's board meeting. Have a second?
Make a motion? Second?
Thanks. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Discuss contract approval for LED street lighting replacement Phase 3. John?
All right. Thank you, sir. This is our ongoing LED replacement program for the street lighting in town here. The last two phases showed approximately 300 to 400 light heads were replaced. We are, again, continuing this process, looking for approximately $250,000 annually of replacement. This helps us with the energy consumption that gets cut to a third of its usage. Our cost savings relate to a 5-year ROI and gives us notification of live outages with the new smart cities grid that we install with them. We have damage and knockdown instant notification. We have a supplier manufacturer gives us a 10-year warranty on this product, and it gives us reduction in maintenance requirements to allow our staff to be redirected towards other infrastructure. This was bid out, and we are looking for consideration and action by the board to award the bid set forth to Christopher Burke Engineering for the coordination of the bid package. As you can see in the bid that was released, we had John Burns Construction come in as our low bidder. We have a $341,600 budget available. Our lowest responsive bidder, which was John Burns, came in at $335,307, which puts us at $6,293 under our available budget.
Great, thanks. And they're a local company.
Yes, they are out of Orland.
You have any questions, guys?
Sounds good.
No, works for me.
I'll make a motion to send it to next week's board meeting. Have a second?
Second?
Thanks, Bill. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Item number 7, discuss IT room architect RFQ.
And, in May, we released a RFQ to acquire a architect to help us create a IT room for our village infrastructure. The RFQs went out. We had, I believe it was 6 firms that responded. We narrowed them down to 3 for interview. Myself, along with Michael Thomas from IT and other staff from our respective departments, interviewed these firms. And it was determined by our group that the finalists that best represented of our collective needs to be able to offer us the services needed were Cordigan Clark architectural firm, and the initial services cost would be $48,510, and then if we requested to utilize them for construction management services, that cost would start at $15,000 plus 3% of the overall construction cost, which is currently estimated at $630,000 for the overall project. With that number as, again, an extremely rough estimate without drawings, that would put them just under $19,000 for their services. Their schedule of fees were comparable with competitors, and a GMP will be established later in the future once the design has been finalized and a scope for the subcontractors are received. We're requesting that the committee forwards to the board for approval of a professional service contract with Corrigan Clark for the AE service cost of $48,510, and the construction management services at the initial cost of $15,000 plus the 3% of the final construction as described. And I also have a representative from Corrigan Clark here for any questions.
Do you guys have any questions?
Nope, B&B out.
Do you have anything you want to add on that, Pat?
Nope, no, this is on our radar for quite a long time, and, we're glad that we're getting this together, and this will help expand our services, also at the dispatch center, so,
Okay, thanks. The architect like to say anything?
Thanks for the opportunity. Looking forward to working with you guys and having a successful project. I'm Brian Cronwitter, Corrigan Clark.
How you doing, Brian?
Nice to meet you all.
Thanks for
Thank
coming.
you for coming.
Thank you. If there's no further questions, I will make a motion to push Brian and his architect firm to the next village board meeting on Tuesday. Got a second?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thanks. Number 8, John, discuss post-7 forced main project, please.
Okay, for those of you that recall the sanitary service emergency repair we had on 167th Street, it was the beginning of last winter. This is the maintenance portion of that emergency repair, where we are asking for the approval of the work to consist of televising and lining of that main sanitary sewer that comes from Post 7, which is the lift station off of Harlem Avenue. And it goes all the way to down Ridgeland Avenue, actually to the interceptor pit that they're currently working on 175th and Ridgeland. We are going to be attacking this in multiple phases because it is such a large undertaking. We bid out a scope that you can see in the attached outline. Visu Sewer came in as the low bidder out of Bridgeview for a price of $1,061,770. And we're requesting for the committee's approval and forward to the board for approval. We did budget 1.267 for this project, so we did come in approximately 200,000 under our budget.
Great, thanks, John. Any question, Bills?
Nope. Bill Squared. Bill Squared has nothing.
What?
No.
Make a motion to send it to next week's board meeting. Have a second?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Number 9, discuss award of JOC for office area condensing unit evaporator coil replacement. John, could you handle that?
Yes, sir. All right. We had a few failures of our air conditioner unit last summer and fall, and with the recommendation of our maintenance contractor, we are looking to try to expedite a replacement of this unit. I was here, it was probably 10 years ago when we replaced this unit, and it fell pretty close to this cost on an emergency repair. So we are looking to utilize JLC contracting to expedite the replacement at a contract amount of $130,833.14, requesting approval and forward to the village board.
Thanks, John. Any questions, Squared?
Just one. Is there a maintenance agreement that we have, where they come out and check and get the filters and clean things and empty
Yes,
up?
sir.
Oh, okay.
Yes, we do have an annual HVAC maintenance agreement.
Okay.
Well, I think that was just approved
Why, you
last
think-
meeting, right?
Yes, it was actually.
Yeah.
What do you think the other filters are dirty other than the one above you?
Just checking.
I say that because it's extremely cold on that side.
Freezing.
All right.
It's freezing.
It is. If there's no questions, I'll make a motion to move this to next Tuesday's board meeting. Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Bill. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Bill will stay cool. Number 10, discuss awarding a JOC for the council chambers. This is Bill's one. Condensing unit air handler replacement. John, could you take that?
Yes, as you said, coincidentally, this is the unit that is in the room we are in right now. The unit is, from our understanding, original to the construction of this facility, which is somewhere near 30 years old. We have been crutching this thing along. As you can tell, right now it's working well, but we have had to piecemeal some repairs on it for the last couple years. We, again, are looking for an expedited repair, so we don't have this a failure point when we're trying to hold meetings here. The budget available is $156,000. We have a contract amount for $149,849.13, and we're $6,100 under budget. Requesting committee approval and forward over to the board.
Any questions? Do you want to make the motion for this one, Bill?
Certainly.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to move it to the board.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Last, number 11, water main improvements, 76th Avenue and Nottingham Drive, 70th Avenue and 174th Place, and last, 174th Street and Odell Avenue. John, can you take that?
Yes, sir. As you stated, that we had multiple locations for replacement of mains. The village advertised using an online service, which is BHFX, with bid openings. A total of 10 contractors downloaded the bid package, with 4 submitting bids for the project. This pool included a large number of contractors who have bid on village projects on a regular basis. Utilization of Baxter and Woodman as our new engineering firm for the water main projects, and, you know, a combination of having some new services here. Inadvertently, a mistake was made with the legal notice being not published in the newspaper. So because of that, we are requesting that the competitive bidding process be waived for this project. Again, based on the fact that our typical contractors did respond to the online bidding process, and we had, 4 competitive bidders submit to this. And as Austin Tyler has been one of our typical contract awards, it shows that we, fell within our typical contract amount. We are requesting that the official competitive bid, it gets waived, but we award the contract to Austin Tyler Construction in the amount of $726,202.64. And we placed the other bidders on there just for your understanding that we did have multiple people officially give us numbers on this. We did have $1 million budgeted in this budget for the projects.
Okay, yeah, they have done a lot of work in the town. Pat?
Yeah,
You want to
same.
jump in on that?
Same as earlier, and this one makes even more sense to competitive bidding. I mean, this was a technical requirement that, through an inadvertent mistake, was not met. Newspaper posting, I think, goes back to a time well before computers. Not many people are, finding their bid opportunities in the Southtown these days, but it's still a state requirement. But I think you got this out to the people who need to get it. You got competitive bids, and you got a good price for the village, so we certainly recommend going with John's recommendation and waiving competitive bidding. This fits perfectly.
Thanks, Pat. Any questions? Nope, I'll make a motion to send this in, Austin Tyler as our contractor, to the next week's board meeting. Have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Bill. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 12, public comment. Would like to address Public Works?
Pat, on the waste management, or the
New Way?
New Way, Homewood, the 24, whatever price, does that include all the fuel surcharges and the environmental up costs?
That's all inclusive,
So-
Their fuel surcharges, yes. That's all inclusive.
Well, there's fuel surcharges and there are environmental surcharges on there.
That's the price that they're giving us. They didn't put any other pricing on None of the other bidders included that type of pricing.
And the 3.5% escalator, is that every year, 3.5%, or does it depend? Okay.
Thanks, Mike. Anyone else?
Hi, John Hanneberg. I've got the property on Sayre Avenue. I keep messaging Pat. Everyone's responsive. I don't know if this is the proper forum to say, how do I get this presented to the board? Is this the meeting that I would use for that, or is the regular village board meeting?
Get what? I remember you've been to the meetings before with drainage?
Yes,
Is
sir.
that correct?
With drainage and a debris hill that's 150-foot wide, 200-foot long, and 30-foot high. It doesn't belong there, and it's been there for 13 years from the construction of Hanover Place Apartments. Since then, Hanover Place separated their property from that property, and they left the debris for the resold owner. Taxes just came out. My property, landlocked, unbuildable, deemed by the village. There is no access to that property. Taxes just came out, $5,500 a year. They think I have gold back there. They're estimating it at $140,000 value, a piece of landlocked land, which sits next to that dirt hill, debris hill. The guy owning the debris hill, who was built by Pat O'Malley and his family, he's paying $180 a year in taxes. So there's quite a differential there. I'm not getting any relief from the county. I've gone chapter and verse. I've had the county, since I've been complaining to them, they've changed the pictures and the website, when you go to the county website, for the value of the properties and the description of properties. Now, the area that's a drainage ditch between Hanover Place and the small house to the south is the picture that's mounted for all 4 lots in the back lot. So someone in the county has changed the location pictures, that the pictures that represent those lots are not the picture. That's a picture of a place off Harlem, so obviously it's not a landlocked piece of land. My property used to be the picture for all of those lots, and when I brought that to the county's board's attention, now my picture for my new back lot represents my house from the front all the way to the back, as if I own one house and 585 feet of property with that house on it, which is not what it is. It's 2 lots. It's a lot in the back and a lot in the front. The lot with the house is 100 by 200. So I'm getting hosed, sorry, big time here. And if the village can't give me any relief, I gotta step it up one more time.
Have you gotten a response back from our building and planning department? I know they've been working with the owner.
Kimberly said she walked the property, which is great, and she brought in an engineer, which is great. She talked about regrading the property, which is, that means you're just gonna make the land higher than what it is for mine, anyhow. It used to be flat across, and now it's not. So if she regrades and doesn't take anything out, obviously it's still higher than mine. Much better appearance, but drainage still comes to me. These people that built Hanover Place, when before I came to you, I went to them, and I said, you're creating this problem, you have to fix it. And their answer was to sell the back lots to somebody else, who they know, obviously, and say it's no longer a problem, we don't own the back lots. So since they separated the problem, regrading that land is not an option for me anymore. They separated it to avoid having to do anything with it. Now those properties are separate. Let them remove their dirt. Somebody's got to put their foot down and say fair is fair.
I know they've been working with the owner of the property.
Right.
and all that, So I'll check on an update. and I'll
I
have
appreciate it.
something back to you.
I gave you like a 18-page letter, and I included pictures of the lot that is now represented by those lots. It's obviously a lot off Harlem Avenue. You know, anybody who knows the neighborhood would know. I appreciate your help.
Sir, would you mind leaving your name and phone number with Hannah? John Urbanski and myself, he's
Sure.
the Assistant Public Works Director, we'll come out there tomorrow afternoon.
Thank you, sir.
Sure, no problem.
Okay, appreciate it, gentlemen. Thank you.
Any more comments for Public Works? I'd like to make a motion to adjourn Public Works Committee at 7 o'clock.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Public Works adjourned.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to start our Administration and Legal Committee meeting at 7 o'clock. Okay, I'd like to consider the approval of minutes of the Administration and Legal Committee meeting held on June 11th, 2019. Can I get a motion?
So moved?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, number 3, discuss electrical aggregation. That's not,
Believe there-
Okay, I'll take it.
yep, okay.
Yep. Okay, so, some of you have probably been familiar with electric aggregation, some of you may not have been. I do have Dave Hoover with NIMAC, our consultant here, and an individual from our Environmental Enhancement Commission. So I'll go over the memo a little bit, touch on some points, and then we have them for questions and to kind of expand a little bit, as there's a lot that goes into electrical aggregation. So back in 2011 and 2012, the village took the necessary steps to join an opt-out electric aggregation program. So what electric aggregation essentially does is it allows the village to go out to bid on an annual basis to negotiate the price of its combined electric supply of energy for residents. So typically this has saved the village about $5.7 million over the years since the inception of the program. But over the last couple of years, market conditions have begun to change. Last year was the first year that when the village went out to bid, our prices in the market didn't come back lower than the ComEd rate. So last year was the first year that we joined the 100% electric aggregation green program, which many of you may have remembered. We did receive the award a couple months back for being an EPA green partner community. So that's where that comes from. So what the program last year did, MC Squared was the supplier, and they matched the ComEd rate that came back, and last year that was at 7.75 cents. So they matched that rate at no additional cost to residents, and were able to supply us through the purchase of renewable energy credits with green energy to the grid for all of the members in the aggregate. So this year, NIMAC again went out to market for bids for the village, for the program, and similar results came back. Again, no bidders came back with lower rates than the ComEd rate. So MC Squared has again agreed to match the ComEd rate and continue the same program that we have experienced the last year. Just to make note, I mean, initially, I think with this being a different program, the clerk's office did have a higher volume of phone calls at the beginning. The opt-out rate was slightly higher. There were some resident concerns about, just making sure that, that with different suppliers, some residents being on ComEd and some being on MC Squared as the suppliers, just unsure with what the difference was. But ever since then it has died down. There hasn't really been any big problems or anything with that. Our Environmental Enhancement Commission has worked closely with NIMAC to ensure that all rates are remaining the same, and this program is running smoothly. Again, as mentioned, we did win the EPA. Sorry, not win, but I guess we are number 5 in the nation for the amount of green energy consumed as our aggregation program. So that's sort of the overview. I can let any questions or let Dave expand a little bit more on the green aggregation program, but essentially the board would need to make a decision as to whether, this would need to go to the board for a decision of whether or not to continue the program or just revert and have everyone back on ComEd.
Well, at this point in time, right now, they can sign up or not sign up. It's just a matter of sending a card in, right?
Correct, yes. I think it's per state law. Every single year, every resident in the aggregate is mailed a letter, and they can opt in at no cost. They can opt out at no cost. I don't know if Dave wants to expand on that.
If I can, in the aggregation program, the opt-out aggregation program that you're running, residents who are automatically included in the program. Those residents who have already previously made their own choice to go with another supplier, they're over here and set aside. We don't do anything with those residents. But everybody who's in the program or at ComEd is automatically included in the program. They're mailed information about that. If they want to opt out and go from 100% green to 0% green, they have the right to do that, and there's no cost to do that. They can do that now, they can do it anytime they want. They can go to take advantage of any supply offer they want at any time they want.
Okay. Thank you.
So there was nothing, there was no rates lower than the 775, you said?
Well, what we did, the ComEd rate now has been lowered. It just came out effective last month, and that rate is let's see, it's 7.2. And the bids that we, excuse me, it's 7.05. Sorry about that. And the closest bid we got was 7.6 cents. So yeah, there's been some fundamental changes in the pricing parameters, and a lot of programs like yours that previously were able to find savings aren't. Same things happened to Orland Park, Palos Park, Oak Lawn, Oak Park, Elmhurst. A number of programs are, and they're all taking advantage of this same 100% green program.
And this doesn't affect anyone else that has already chosen their providers?
Correct. There, just the way the aggregation program works, any resident that gets a gift card or free miles on their airlines or whatever, just responds to somebody at the door, mail. If they move their own account to another supplier, they're set aside. We just inform them. Letters go out to inform them. The ICC wants us to do that. They can opt into the program if they want, but if they do nothing, they remain obviously with their own supplier. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I deal with, I know our town has, and I deal with a lot of seniors who either one, don't quite understand it, or are afraid of it, or don't like change, And I'm in the feeling that we'll let them make that decision. If they want to, don't force it upon them. It's their choice. People still like to make choices when they can. I'd like to just leave it like that. Let them sign the card. No, yes, whatever it might be.
So just to be clear, I want to make sure we're 100% clear. That is not the way the program works today. So the program is an opt-out program. The residents passed a referendum to allow, back in 2012, I believe, to operate a program like this. It's up to the village to continue that or suspend it. And the opt-out program is, again, for everybody who hasn't made their own choice.
Right.
Is automatically included in the program.
So it's their choice to opt out.
If they want to opt out, they can opt out.
Right.
Yeah, they're sent a letter.
I'm sorry for the way I explained it.
Are they still ComEd people then? If they opt out, so we got a card, we opt out,
Then you go back to ComEd.
we just go to ComEd. Is the rate the same?
Exactly the same. So you go from, so you're opting out of a 100% green program to a 0% green program. But that is the option that's available to the residents.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mike, you got anything?
If I can add one other decision to you, the program that we did last year, it's the first year we did it. We did it for 1 year just to kind of stick our toe in the water, see how we're doing, see if we liked it, see how it operated, what the residents' feedback was. The option you have available to you is to sign up for a 1 or 2 or 3 year term. I might suggest, I don't see anything out in the horizon for the next 2 years where we see any fundamental pricing changes. That's going to bring your half a cent, 0.6 cents disparity back to the ComEd level. I might suggest that you consider extending the program for a 2 year term this time. It'll make Hannah's life a little easier. Every time letters go out, every time you renew the program, letters go out to the residents, again, to opt out if they want to opt out. A number of often elderly folks are confused and they call, and I'll let Hannah say this, but every time we explain the program to them, at the end they go, okay, that's great. As long as somebody else is looking at this, that's great. Most all of them that we talk to don't opt out. They just want to understand the program. If you do a 2 year term, you don't have to send that letter again for 2 years, which puts everything in place. And again, the only time that you really get any feedback or response from the residents is within a week or two of the letter. And then it dies down for the remainder of the term. So that's just an option. We might suggest that you do a 2-year term this time.
If we do a 2-year term, is there language in there for us to opt out and stop the program altogether?
Cannot do that. That's correct. So residents can opt out individually, but the program is in place. The supplier purchases their power and these renewable credits. And so they've already made that expenditure, so they need to continue the duration of the contract. If you have any reservations, you can certainly continue a 1-year program, and we can have this conversation again next year, just fine. So.
I mean, from what I understand is that any resident can always opt out.
Yep.
ComEd still delivers the power. It's just who is your supplier is really all they're changing. So I have the reps come to my office all the time from all kinds of different companies. So I wouldn't have a problem with a 2-year agreement as long as any individual can opt out themselves. So
I just don't like that we don't have an option in case we didn't want to go that far, but that's fine.
It will save a lot of phone calls and
That's fine.
residents that are confused. I mean, it is.
Every time a mailing goes out.
It-
we
Yeah.
get phone
it's,
calls.
I mean, and it's not 3 or 4. I mean, I
It's
don't
a
know if
lot.
we have numbers, but it's a lot.
This year we counted, it was 50 plus in a
Yeah.
matter of a week.
Yeah, yeah.
Does the village get any benefit? You help with their lighting bill at all? Village has lighting expenses.
no, we actually covered that in the meeting earlier.
Don't have a
Right.
They do get lower rates from ComEd.
better rate for the village at least?
Well, we don't, we actually don't pay electricity and village buildings that are not revenue generating.
We still pay electricity for water pumping
Right.
and street lights and
Right.
other functions,
Streetlights is what I was thinking.
which we have a similar program for collective bargaining, collective
I
rate.
do, right, yes.
Yeah, the only benefit to the village, there's no economic benefit, there's no economic benefit to the residents. I mean, this is at ComEd's rate, period. The only benefit is, the PR you get for being the 5th greenest community in the United States.
Have we had multiple year aggregation programs before? Yeah. So it's not something new to us, it's something that we've done previously.
Yeah, when we, in the first round of aggregations, we did 1, 2, and 3-year term prices all the time, and as a result, then you just pick based on what you feel is the best price throughout that term.
Well, at this point, what do you want from us?
I think there need to be
Need a motion?
Motion to bring it to the board?
For 2 years? Do we want to do 1 or 2 years? I was
I'll make a motion then to send it to the board for 2 years.
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And so ordered. Thank you, sir.
Very good. Thank you.
Any public comment?
I'm not a green guy, sorry.
Okay.
I don't believe in all of that.
All right.
Replacing my gas engine. You know?
Understood.
Well, talk to him. Maybe you will. Maybe you'll change your mind.
He's a gentleman, and I wouldn't be, so.
Okay.
I
Thank-
I'll just reiterate, I gotta get the last word in. I'll just reiterate that the residents in the program pay the exact same rate if they opt out of the program and go back to ComEd.
Right.
It's the exact same rate, and you support green energy.
Okay,
You're
good.
welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Okay, there's no other public comment. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Very good. All right, I'd like to open the Public Safety Committee meeting. Let the record reflect it is 7:14 PM. I'd like to ask for a motion to consider approval of the meeting, of the minutes of the Public Safety Committee meeting held on June 11th, 2019.
So moved.
Second?
So moved. Second.
Very good, thanks, Bill. All right, item number 3, I'd like to discuss the,
All those in favor?
I'm sorry,
Just call it all those in favor?
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion
Good.
carries.
Motion carries. Item number 3, I'd like to discuss the fire pay plan. Chief, you want to take that one? Dave taking it?
Take that, so.
Okay.
Thank. So this is a topic we've really been discussing and looking at for at least a year or so. It was one of our strategic plan goals. And so as a result, and I know board members are familiar with this, I'm really just going to touch on essentially what's changed, the highlights of what's changed since we last discussed this, and then just a summary of the major highlights of the plan. So again, this, the last version of this had been presented to the board in April. There was some very good questions about long-term cost and how the plan was gonna be paid for, so the staff kind of went back, looked at some revisions, and Forrest and Pat worked on some ideas on how we could actually pay for the plan. So in summary, this new plan, it's a 5-step pay grade rather than a 10-step grade. But what it also adds is that we did not have in the original plan pay grade levels for staff that work in an EMT duties, and that's going to reward those that have the required certification that we expect to begin in the next couple of years. Also, we had a rather long time frame for probationary firefighters. And to get us to market, we actually now are recommending that they get an increase, assuming satisfactory performance after 60 days. And then finally, one of the priorities that we've made this year is having command staff at the amphitheater during concerts. And so in order to do that and to make sure that they're adequately compensated, there's $3 per hour acting up pay for command staff. So in summary, and I know you have lots of spreadsheets and lots of charts, but I just, the estimated tenure cost, and of course, all this is gonna be estimated because we don't know exactly how quickly people will go through steps. It doesn't take into account retirements and things like that. But the estimated cost is about $3.15 million. There's a breakdown of the annual cost. This is really in the first few years, not that expensive, but obviously as people continue to go through steps, that's when the higher costs are. So that compares to the estimated 10-year cost of the old plan being $4.4 million. Again, this is not including market wage adjustments, which I think, as the board knows, we traditionally look at every year also. So, again, per the request from the board, there are some ideas in terms of how we can pay for this. And we do think in the first few years we have a ready-made source. If you remember right, when we renewed the Kurtz contract, there's a $300,000 savings by no longer utilizing the Kurtz emergency medical dispatcher position. And that's going to offset, again, the first few years of the cost. Future years, we may need to look at some of the other options in there, ambulance fees or other budget adjustments to pay for the new plan. So one of the things you also did not see in April is Forrest and his team, I think, did an excellent job putting together. I think really what was important, I know with the old board, I know is that with this board, is that all of our new pay plans really have a more robust program dealing with merit and making sure that steps are not automatic. And so there's a very robust performance evaluation plan that looks at things such as training, initiative, fitness, communication, and overall performance. And so again, employees have to perform, they have to have a certain number of points in order to get the step increases. So it's not automatic, which I will tell you in my experience in some towns, and it is with, when we get into our police contracts, they're just step increases without performance. So this is a big thing, as it was with our pay plan that we did for the rest of the village. So this again is just some of the highlights. I've just kind of reviewed the changes, but we did a whole market study, so there are some rate increases in the first year for some positions. We are going to merit-only pay, and this is tied into the village-wide pay plan that we did that put all management on merit pay effective May 1st. So this affects in the fire department, the chief, the deputy chief, and the assistant chiefs. So they will not be getting any market wage adjustments in the future. We mentioned about the education stipend program being replaced with this new merit system. There's an anti-rank pay program change to provide incentive towards promotional opportunities. And we didn't have it in some of the initial drafts, but we do have, there is some recognition for staff with 20 years or more in terms of starting them at a one step higher. So again, you know, the pay trends, I think as it's shown nationwide, we're trying to remain competitive with similar part-time departments. There's a limit number that we have to compare to. So lieutenant, captain, assistant chief were ones that were especially below the market, and that's why you see some larger adjustments, especially with the assistant chief position. Some of this is difficult, again, to do apples to apples in some cases, because EMT licensures are not required in all the departments. Firefighter and engineer are separate positions, and again, a limited number of part-time departments, which we've listed several of these on the page here. Oh, that's it. So, Pat, Forrest, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, I did. This one's for Pat Carr. On page 3, this one, Pat. Were you talking about the $300,000?
Oh, okay.
So you're going to eliminate Kurt's dispatch, and it's gonna save us about $300,000?
Correct.
And then we're gonna use, that's basically gonna offset the first year, is what you guys are estimating.
Well, it'll actually be for the next 3 to 4 years.
Okay. Yeah. And then we mentioned, we may consider raising ambulance fees down the road as we move. Why, any reason why we don't do it now? Where we sit comparable to like what an Oak Lawn or an Orland Park charges?
So we're right below Orland Park, or right with Orland Park. We're not higher than them. So I guess what we would do is just move with what the market belong, you know, of the communities beside us. We would just move along with them when they moved up. We didn't do that in the past. We kept it lower in the past, but it has been moved up last year to be more competitive with everybody else.
All right, the reason I ask is because we keep using, or Dave keeps using how, you know, comparables on salaries and everything else, then if we're trending a little bit behind them, I think we should increase it to match them to what the, you know, the rates are, what the going rates are. If we're gonna do it with the salaries, we should match it with the fees. Just an opinion.
And Mike, you know, they're getting rid of, with this new pay plan, they're getting rid of the educational stipend program, correct?
Correct.
So there'll be some savings there too. That's included.
That cost has been factored into.
It's, yeah.
75,000.
Yeah.
75,000, yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. And then the other thing too is, so we're increasing the assistant chiefs, it says on this, 11.21%.
Yeah, and again, part of that is the market wage adjustment. These are also some of the positions going to merit. But yeah, it's, as I mentioned in the presentation, it was, if you look at Westmont and McHenry, they're behind in the market.
I think it's a lot off of the first year. But again, it's just my opinion. I don't see why we couldn't get there in a couple of years, why we'd just go straight to 11%, but again, that's just.
Yeah, just Trustee Glatz, some additional feedback or information that went into that. The market average was one of the considerations, but additionally, the assistant chiefs are not going to be in the step plan. We part of the management evaluation piece. And more specifically, and what was important to me was that, the position of assistant chief, you can't compare to the other positions that we have in the department because it's a command staff position, and their job responsibility is to command the entire on-duty force of everybody who's working, dealing with the staffing. Each of them has an assigned area of responsibility, from training to station operations to vehicle maintenance and buildings and facilities and those types of things. So it's their job description and the compensation package that we're proposing here relates to the work that they do and shouldn't be compared to the other, rank members that we have within the department here. So those were some of the things that, over the last almost 2 years of working over this program here, that we wanted to make sure that those, in addition to the market pieces, were also parts of that consideration as well.
I understand, Chief, but it's still, at the end of the day, it's 11%. And then by increasing it that much, so anyone that's a shift commander is gonna get assistant chief pay, so we'll be paying, that 11% is gonna be anyone that bumps up.
No, sir.
To
No.
that, yeah, it's,
That's been corrected, Trustee Glatz, that anybody who acts up as a shift commander, they will have their rank plus $3 per hour.
I thought that was only for the Hollywood, the $3 was
that's,
for the theater.
Where's that in the memo? What Dave is that?
If you could find that, because I remember reading the $3 is for the, it's on the first page. In addition, command staff working at Hollywood Amphitheater will receive $3 acting up pay.
That's the last line.
Because that was a new, that was added to the plan since the April meeting that we had together. And the intent in all of the acting pays was to have the acting pay for the person who is acting be less than the person who's seated in that position, so that I have a motivation and an incentive for those who were in the lower ranks to try to test and promote up into the higher ranks in that. So they're not any longer going to be receiving the same hourly rate as the person they're replacing. They're going to have, there's 5 acting rate pay positions that they have, and a lieutenant or a captain acting as a shift commander will be their base pay plus $3 per hour.
Okay. It's just the way it's written, it says that it's only for the amphitheater, it doesn't say
Yeah,
for.
I'm sorry, I think that was just meant to include that was something that wasn't discussed when this was originally approved back at the April meeting.
On page 2, it just says it says a correction to shift commander acting up rate was made effective as a pay period starting June 16th. This is to ensure the shift commander rate is equal to the current.
That itself is another issue, that was just an error in payrolling starting May 1st there.
Okay.
So that is a separate issue there.
You have any questions, Bill?
No, fine.
You have any other questions, Mike?
No, I don't think so.
I just like that I think you guys did a great job, Chief, with this. I think it's a step in the right direction to incentivize our fire department to move through the ranks and compensate them fairly, so.
Yeah, I agree.
I'd like to make a motion to move it to the board.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Very good. All right, item number 4, discuss the fee study for the police department. Stan, you want to take that?
Good evening, and thank you. I was tasked with comparing and contrasting the Village of Tinley Park's fine schedule with that of other surrounding communities. The communities chosen were Orland Park, Orland Hills, Bolingbrook, Schaumburg, Woodbridge, and Plainfield. All have similar footprints to the Village of Tinley Park, and some are tangible, they are adjoining. So the Village of Tinley Park sets fines for parking and compliance violations, which are vehicle and equipment offenses, at a rate of $25. Parking and compliance citations may be paid via mail or in person, and the fines for local ordinance violations are set by a hearing officer with a maximum fine of $750. Local ordinance violation must appear in court for a hearing. As you can see, if you have the memo in front of you, I reviewed the fine schedules set forth in each of those communities. when you look at the initial fines starting at Orland Park, their current fine schedule for parking and vehicle violations is $75, and their local ordinance citation started at $100 and go to $750. Orland Hills starts their fines at $100, and then their local ordinance goes from $100 to $750. Bolingbrook starts their fines at $30 and goes to anywhere to up to $100, and their local ordinance citation started at $100 and go to $750. Schaumburg, they start their fines at $50 and going to $100, and their local ordinances start at $100 and go to $750. Woodridge, they have some antiquated systems there. They're currently reviewing their fine schedule as we are. They have some old ones going back to $5 and up to $100. Local ordinances are $100 to $750. And then Plainfield, starting at $35 and going to $100, and local ordinances go from $100 and $750. All the communities, local ordinance fines are either set between $100 and $750 or set by a hearing officer. That is big because it causes people to appear in court. They don't have an option to pay via mail or online. With that being said, I reviewed our current outstanding debt or our fines in collection. And in 2018, we had $212,000 plus in collections that are outstanding debt. Today, as of today, we currently have $161,000 in outstanding debt. The village of Tinley Park currently has $200,000 in outstanding fines and collections, and upon speaking with the aforementioned communities, fine payment seems to be a very common problem amongst them. However, the communities who have established an online payment system have found greater than normal fine payment compliance. So it's more of a convenience for the people to pay the fine today than it is yesterday. People don't believe in writing checks or sending it in the mail. If they can go online and pay it, they pay it. So those communities are getting greater compliance with the online payment system. After speaking with the communities and discussing this with village personnel, we, the police department, would make some of the following recommendations. These are recommendations up for review. We believe we're being fair and reasonable, so we would increase our parking fines and compliance citations to start at $50 across the board. We would establish an online payment option. We would set fines for local ordinances to allow them to be paid without a must appear in court. So we would come up with a program that allows people to pay, or if they commit an offense that fits in the category, we would start our fines at $100 and they would go up depending upon the offense and whether they comply for local ordinance hearing or they have to be deferred to court. That gives them the option to pay right away, not come to court, and it's more of a convenience. We would review all fines currently in collections and consider an amnesty program. If the money is sitting out there, we want to go get it, we just don't want it to sit there. We would adopt a couple ordinances, one of them being the towing of unlawful vehicles. This ordinance will allow us to tow vehicles used by persons committing certain crimes as defined in Secretary of State's IBC and the State of Illinois Criminal Code, and it would allow us to assess a $500 administrative fee. When we talk about the administrative hearing, we want to look at adopting more offenses and bring them into the hearing, so the village can collect more of the fines than we do currently collect. The majority will go to the county and then to the state. So we definitely need to review and update our fine schedule.
All right, thank you, Commander. Only question I have on this is, before we bring this to the board, are we gonna have, do we need the schedule, or can that be adopted later?
I believe that we need to sit down collectively with the administration, the deputy chief and the chief, and the village attorney to review a fine schedule. I believe we need to categorize some of the fines. Some of the fines are set by statute, especially with some of the new cannabis laws coming into effect. We're gonna have set fines that we're gonna have to follow. There's issues with reporting. If we try to adopt more into our local ordinance so we can recover more of the costs for the fines, we have reporting issues to the Secretary of State, to the Bureau of Identification. So there is gonna be a process for us to do this. There is gonna be numerous ordinances that have to be either amended or new ones being drawn. This is not gonna be a process that can get done overnight. It's gonna be complex.
Yeah, I'd agree with Commander Tenza. I've personally done it before. There, these happen periodically. You update, you look around, but it'll take a little time. For example, it wouldn't be ready for next Tuesday's meeting or anything like that. But I'd agree with the process. If we all sat down, figure out what makes sense, come back with the actual paper of what you'd want to approve. I think that's probably the best way to go.
I mean, there are examples out there in other municipalities that we can review, and if we believe it's in the best interest of the village of Tinley Park, what's reasonable and fair, we can adopt, or we definitely use those as comparables, or, adopt some of their fine schedules.
Okey-doke. Any questions, Bill?
No, but I think it's a great idea to establish online payment. People are always, you can do everything online nowadays, you
It's
know.
more of a convenience.
Sure, absolutely. Who
Speaking
needs
with
it?
these communities, they have online payment. We can adopt that for our commuters. Convenience through an app. They don't have to buy tokens. Our process on following up the violators who fail to appear in court, you start looking at 3 and 4 letters going out. There's postage, there's envelopes.
Right.
I mean,
Time.
on the back end, we need to become a little bit more firm. We're too lenient on the back end. I think we need to cut the steps 4 and 5 out. We give them the citation, they get a warning, then they either go to collections or judgment. There's no reason to go to 4 or 5 steps before, they're going to collections or judgment. I think we need to expedite that part of it. We traditionally have been very fair or lenient on that, and people are taking advantage of us. Some of the statutes or some of the ordinances that we proposed before previously were frowned upon because they were too aggressive. And I believe that we need to get into that realm, because with the deferral programs going on now and the Cook County State's Attorney's Office administration changing some of the definitions and some of their policies, we're fighting a battle that we need to identify and we need to focus on and take care of here in town before we set it out. We can take it here in our administrative court.
Right. I think that would be your firm, right, Pat? We can keep more of that in-house, keep more of the,
With the prosecutions?
Yeah.
Things like that? Yeah, I mean, some things you can, some things you can't. I haven't looked at the code of what's going to the state side that we could keep in, but obviously, the more that stays here in the village, the better for the
Right.
village.
Well, I know that in the past, a few months ago, as a matter of fact, Kristen, our clerk, Kristen Theron, she brought up the idea that the amount of village stickers that people don't have, and that we haven't been able to, compared to how many cars are registered here in Tinley and how many have village stickers, and they have no way of collecting on that. So I think certainly with the computer system would be great in enforcing that.
There's many options for the online payment. You can,
Oh, yeah.
it's more of a convenience, and you'll see better compliance, in my opinion.
Right.
Yeah, I think with that online payment, I think you'll see that change dramatically, so.
What do you want right now? I'm good.
Yeah, so what do you need from us, Dan? You want?
Well, I just need the direction to bring it back to my deputy chief and chief. We need to sit down, come up with a committee to review with Pat, our village attorney, and start moving forward on a fine schedule, or updating our fine schedule, and come back at another public safety
Yeah, just-
meeting and give you an update on where we're at.
I don't think you need a vote. There's a direction from the committee to move forward as Commander Tenza has put forth, and we'll meet with the management team and the police department and start putting pen and paper on this.
Okay.
Is that?
The goal is, we've been having a lot of fee updates with this summer community development, trying to get all these before we had a cow in August, so that's always the goal.
Okay.
Do we have a spot currently that we tow cars to and it's banned, or? Seems like with the new cannabis laws, I just think there's gonna be more accidents and more people needing their car towed for driving while high.
So we currently have several tow companies that meet the village
So
requirements.
they store for,
Yeah,
they
they
don't
will-
store village-wide.
If it's just a simple traffic arrest and it's not a personal injury or a fatality, they will take responsibility for that. That's why we've recommended the administrative fee for the tow, which would allow the village to apply a $500 fee for that unlawful use of a vehicle
board, we'll go through all those and make sure we're up to date on all, of them, including the new cannabis laws,
I just
things
wondered
like that.
if we
So
were
we'll
gonna
make sure we're up to date.
build a lot somewhere in town, but if that's covered, then that's fine.
Well, I'd like to make a motion to let them.
We don't even
Don't need it?
I think direction's clear. We'll
Okay.
continue working on it. We'll get back to you.
Very good. All right, we're good. Cool. Thank you, Commander. Appreciate it. All right, item number 5, discuss the fee study for the fire department.
Okay, and ask Chief Burton to come up and join us up here. Is this driven basically by the Fire Prevention Bureau here? We've got essentially 12 specific areas that I think Dan can give you a quick summary on, where we're at currently and what the recommendation from the Fire Prevention Bureau and the Fire Department would be with those fees that we have for various activities from our plan review and some of the other ancillary operations that the Bureau conducts for us. Chief's done a great job on preparing that, and we'll summarize the memo here and be available for questions for you.
Very good.
Thanks, Chief. As you know, the fire department participated with other village staff over the last several months on a fee study. And one of the findings on the fire department side is we had services either that we weren't getting any compensation for or hadn't been updated in a number of years. So that kind of put us on a journey to really kind of look to see what other jurisdictions are doing as far as with similar fees. And we took a real hard look at how our fees or how we internally and how some of the services we put together, what those costs were. One of the things that we looked at is we broke it down into 3 factors. You know, what the administrative cost of the permit was, what it took for us to look at and review the documents that we were asked to approve, and then also the field acceptance and the field inspection portion of the permit itself. I think you have handouts that kind of summarize all the different types of permits and fees that we currently have, and what the cost that we normally charge, and then what we're proposing to update those services or fees. When you look at the plan review, we took how much time we spent on plan review over a 5-year period, and we used that as a basis for coming up with the fee for plan review. Thought that was a good idea to help us understand how much time staff was actually performing a plan review function, and kind of roll that into what we thought was a fair fee for that type of activity. So when you look at the tables that you have when guarding permits for fire protection, we are only charging $15. I think that fee probably goes back 20 years. We propose to move that up to $50, and that was comparable with some of the jurisdictions around us. When it comes to plan review, obviously our charge is dealing with fire alarm, fire protection, and life safety reviews. We broke that into what we call a small and a large type review. 35% of the types of reviews on fire protection are smaller systems that are usually 20 sprinkler heads or less, or 10 fire alarm devices or less. So that we always thought deserved a lesser fee versus what we consider to be the larger ones. So when you look at the plan review fee for fire sprinkler systems, we didn't charge anything. That was rolled into a $15 permit fee. We're proposing, based on what we've done in-house and comparables, that for fire sprinklers, a smaller one be charged $50, and the larger systems be charged $100. Same thing with small fire alarms and larger fire alarms. We always had a charge for plan review of $50 for a fire alarm system. Our proposal is to keep that the same for small systems, and then for the larger systems, that would be a proposal of $100. For new construction plan review, which is life safety, basically a life safety review, we did not charge anything for that review. Our proposed fee is $100. For field inspection, we've always charged $50, and we are proposing not to change that fee. And we did have other fees that we felt was important for at least bring to your attention. Fire department personnel costs, like fire watch type fees or special events. We have never charged anything for that type of activity. We're proposing a $50 per person per hour charge. CPR, right now we charge $45, and that's never ever been codified. We'd like to get that into our fee study. So we're not proposing any update in that fee. It's just a matter, we feel very strongly that it should be also in our fees, in our fee ordinance. And lastly is our special effects and pyrotechnic permits. We charge $500, and we propose not to have that changed at all. But need to get that codified. Right now, that permit is approved using the other category. And so this is a great time to get it into its own fee category. So there are no questions from anybody that wants to come into town and have that type of activity. So I think the memo also includes some comparisons of fire alarm and fire sprinkler type permit fees, currently what the cost would be, and then what the proposed costs would be. So it is, there are some increases, but it is kind of keeping us in line with everybody else. And it also kind of reflects the amount of time we're spending staff-wise to do some of these reviews. I'll take any questions if you have them.
Your field inspection fees are going to remain at 50. What takes longer, the in-house stuff or is it the field inspection fees?
That depends on the job.
So
Okay.
I just a $50 inspection. I don't know. I mean, how many inspections a day are some of the inspectors actually doing?
Well, let me, now this would be for new construction, not a regular construction. Inspection-wise, like last year, we did over 500, or about 500. That's in our annual report. And so over the course of how that monthly, obviously, at 40 to 50 a month.
Okay. And as far as the fee comparison to other communities, is it pretty comparable?
I think the overall cost of the permit is comparable, and I think when we broke it out into the administrative fee, the plan review fee, and the inspectional fee, I think that, and that's how it's done today. Generally, by default, every permit is given 2 permits. Certainly, depending on the size of the job or what's being permitted, we can get that done with 1 inspection, and the permit reflects 1 inspection versus 2. And if we think it needs 3, it could go to 3 as well. It's kind of given what we normally are accustomed to when it comes to the overall permit fee.
I'm just looking at this, the new construction plan review. We're proposing 100, and it looks like Frankfurt's at 100 to 500. And then Is this Oak Forest? Is that?
And what is OFPD,
Yeah.
chief?
That's
Oh,
Orland
okay,
Fire
okay.
Protection District.
Okay. So we're fairly lower than the other communities as far as our fees, from what I'm gathering, right? Matson's at 250, it looks like.
Depending on the type, depending on the type of permit, it'll vary.
I think we've always tried to maintain, I guess, a reasonableness of fees compared to
Yeah.
other towns. I mean,
I mean-
maybe slightly below market. Part of it has just been that we haven't raised fees in a while.
Mhm.
And so I think we were cognizant of that fact, and with all these, we didn't want these dramatic jumps just because we hadn't done it in a while.
And as Dan noted too, part of his analysis has been to look at what is it actually, which from my perspective is, what is it actually costing us to do these different functions? And is the fee commensurate with that effort?
Right. Yeah, the only thing that I was thinking of is the $50 field inspection. I can't imagine. I mean, we're paying these guys probably, 30 an hour, and then plus benefits. I mean, a field inspection, I imagine, would take at least an hour, so, and we're probably breaking even at that point.
And when you
That's
put
just-
in drive time and things like
Yeah.
that, it does, an hour goes by pretty quick.
Right, that's my,
Um,
that's why I just thought it was kind of low. That's all.
Yeah.
I mean, I would like to see us remain business friendly and,
Well, like,
for the whole community, but
I like to think that if we have it set up that periodically we can go back and review that by looking at what the cost it is for plan review and come back to you with some of those solid numbers to say whether or not we should increase or whatever the case may be.
right.
I certainly don't want to wait another 20 years for that. I don't think I'll be here then, but you never know. But we did try to be fair and try to do things that at least keeps us generating a little bit of income to offset some of the fees the services that we're providing.
My thought on it is, we use all the time that for salaries, it's under market or, comparable to what the market is. Maybe their market is at that rate because of their fees. So we can't use a formula for salaries and always keep saying, well, we're under market. But then when it comes to the fees that actually pay for some of those salaries, like Bill's saying, we're way under market. So fire protection's $50, we were at 15. I don't know why we didn't do this years ago. Orland Park is 145, Oak Forest is 100. You got small sprinklers. We were 0, we went to 50, which is great. Orland Park is 145, Oak Forest is 100, Matson's 300, 150 an hour. Large sprinklers, we're at 100. Orland Park is 450 to 800. Fixed extinguished systems, we're at 100. Orland Park's at 300. Small fire alarms, we're at 50. Orland Park's 110, Matson's at 250, and then 150 an hour. Then we got the large fire systems, we're at 100. Frankfurt is 100 to 500, Matson's 250. And then like Bill said, the new construction, we're at $100. And Frankfurt is 100 to 500, Orland is 345 to 625, and we're at 0. These fees, should have been changed years ago. And maybe we would have more in the budget if we were charging accordingly, because we're paying a certain salary to cover the expense for you guys to go out there and do it. If the fees aren't covering the salaries, what are we doing? The math's reversed. Because the taxpayers are just paying for it instead of the people that are are doing it, and like I said, maybe that's why when we say we're under market, or it's not, this isn't sustainable if we keep having the salaries up here because it's under market, but the fees that pay for part of those salaries are way under market. So it's just the formula, it's just like how you guys compare the, infrastructure for projects. One project, we throw it in on a project, one we don't, we pay for it outside. There's nothing is done the same way, everything is a different formula per project. And I struggle with these fees, being so low originally, and I think they're still too low. I mean, Bill hit it on the head, that's why I didn't wanna speak until he did. We're not, the guys that are going out there, it's not covering the cost. We're just paying for it out of pocket. That's just my
I
opinion.
think some of these are, that's how they calculate it, was based on estimated cost, but again, I think it was a combination of the cost factors, the fact that many of these had not been increased in decades. We could certainly assess and go higher. I think, we were trying to come up with something, I think, based on our cost and based on the fact that we had not looked at these things in decades. And, a good practice, a good solid practice is really these things should be reviewed every 2 or 3 years. And so we're not in this boat where we're doing these, gargantuan increases.
I agree, just like we said,
Yeah.
you said that the assistant chiefs are way under market, but we're not increasing ambulance fees, to where market is for other towns. I mean, it just doesn't add up financially. I mean, we're working backwards.
I would just like to see that more of these inspections pay for themselves, instead of being subsidized by the taxpayer, that's all. That was my biggest thing. And it's a difficult task because it's we have to remain business friendly too. So I'd like to see, I understand what you guys are saying, you don't want to shock everyone with a big increase, but
I mean, Orland and Frankfurt, they're not having trouble with the fees.
right.
I mean, by the time you, like you said, Bill, the $50, by the time the guy gets the email, reads the email, drives over there, does the inspection, talks to the guy, drives back, writes the report, I mean, he's probably got 2-3 hours into it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, what are we doing?
Well, I think it's what David said makes sense, is that since these have not been reviewed in decades, I think you said, Dave.
Right.
That makes it 20 years. But can we jump that far ahead? I mean, we're going on one of the things from current sprinkler heads, 20 up, $0 to $100. I mean, that's a big jump, okay? But I can't disagree with what Bill said either, as far as it paying it for it. But I think if we jump up to try to make everybody the same as our surrounding communities, ours, I mean, look what the governor did with the gas, the gas tax. That just doubled it, okay? You're gonna have people pretty well upset that it's gonna jump that high.
So we can't increase the fees, but in April, we were gonna raise the deputy chief and the assistant chief $5 and $4. I mean, we're working backwards. So you can't say it was okay on one end to do it and then not do it on the other end and we'll just pay for it. It's just not how it works. We gotta run this, this has gotta be like a business. I mean, it doesn't make good business sense.
Right.
For us to be paying for them to get their inspections. But that's all.
True.
I think they need to be, we just raised 11.2% for assistant chief. We're gonna raise $5 and $4 for the deputy chief and assistant chief. But we're not gonna raise the fees that pay for the services. That's just, I just can't support that.
Good point.
So I guess, again, as with the police fees, we'll be revising all these and put them in code, but I'm getting some general sense, at least majority of us, that we want us to look at some of the inspection fees and make sure they're closer to the comparables in cost, I think is what I'm hearing.
Okay.
You know, I mean, as long as they make sense,
Mhm.
you know, the amount of time they're spending to, you know, the size of the job, I mean, to the amount, the time required, I think it should be relative to, you know, what we're actually charging some of the developers and the businesses.
Agreed.
Okay.
You guys need anything else on that one, or?
I think the direction's clear.
Okay,
Yep, we'll address it.
all right,
We'll bring all this back to the cow, so we have final decisions there.
all right, very good. Thank you, Chief.
All right,
When's the cow, Dave?
thank you.
Whenever the August meeting is, the second meeting in August.
Okey-doke. All right, item number 6, discuss Mavis 24 dispatch agreement. Pat?
Yes, thanks, trustee Brennan. We're making money on this one.
It's about time.
Can I get it?
So back in May of 2017, we entered into an agreement with Mavis 24 to handle their box alarm calls for the division. And what we've noticed, since that time is we've had an increase in calls. Mavis 24 has been a terrific partner. They have helped with our radio infrastructure, with the cost of that, so they've probably spent close to $60,000 in some of our radio system upgrades to assist with this, so they've been a great partner. That's why they were very easy to sit down when we put the numbers in front of them to talk about the increased call volume. They had no issues, and so what we're doing is raising it $20,000 per year, so it'll be a total of $25,000 per year from $5,000 starting August 1. And what that will do then is we'll also have the 8% escalator in the years 4 and 5 after that. If anything seems to increase from that, they're willing to sit down at the table to discuss any other increases we might need for that. But they've been a great partner, and they've been assisting us also with the radio maintenance costs, so it's been a win-win for everyone. And what we're asking for is just to, this was an ordinance just to amend the ordinance, or maybe a new ordinance that we're gonna be going into to raise this at the next board meeting.
Pat, is this just to amend it for 2 years, or is this another 4-year?
No, this is just.
Or I'm sorry, another 5-year?
This is just to finish out the rest of the 5-year contract.
Okay.
here, yeah.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions?
No, Pat explained it.
Very good. Good job negotiating that one, so I'll make a motion to move it to the board.
Second?
Thank you, Bill. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Item number 7, receive comments from the public.
If it's all right, can I go back to the scavenger contract, Pat?
It's up to the chairman.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. That's fine.
When we discussed this before, you said the last contract from 8 years ago, the increases were only about 20% over the course of, the last 8 years, from 2011 till now. Now, all of a sudden, with the new contract, it's a 3.5% escalator every year. Over the course of the 8-year contract, when you put dollars to numbers, that's a 33% increase over 8 years. So how are the other bids comparable to that? Because when you look at it, it's only 85-cent increase per year at a 3.5%. But when you go over 8 years, that's a 33% increase. So I just think the escalator in there is a little high compared. I don't know what the escalator was in the previous contract, but I just think that escalator is a little bit high based on the fact that you're giving them an 8-year contract.
Yeah, they started out at 4, we negotiated down to 3.5, Waste Management was 3.5, Republic was 4%. And plus they had higher monthly rates. Their rates were also higher on their pickup charges. New Ways is all-inclusive on the amount of garbage, whereas Waste and Republic were not. So all in all, over that 8-year period, it still was a lot lower.
Okay.
And I think they lowered, and I think our rate now is lower than what we're paying right
Yeah,
now,
it was a
right?
dollar reduction.
Didn't you say it got
Dollar reduction from the current rate per month right now, so.
But
and
still,
you get the 2 TVs per year,
No, I won't get the 2 TVs. 'Cause my rate is gonna be still a lot lower than, only,
Sure.
A
'cause
lot of what's driving their costs now is recycling. The recycling's costing them a lot of money. There's no recycling market. And so it's actually costing them money to get rid of these recyclables. And that's a nationwide problem. China cut off the recycled market, so it's forced them into, trying to find markets for this, and they end up selling this stuff off to other, companies to get rid of it. So it's a very tough recycled market out there right now. So that's what's driving a lot of the costs. In addition, the fuel costs and everything, all that tax, the fuel tax that's going on there.
environmental taxes and.
Right, so.
Well, and,
Pat, I don't
and
see-
to,
sorry, go ahead, Bill.
to add to that, I mean, this contract was negotiated prior to the gas tax actually increasing, so we kinda got away with that one
Yeah,
too,
that's a
so.
good point.
And then too, there's municipalities and
Yeah.
other government agencies that charge you anywhere from $25 to $50, depending upon the TV.
Yeah, and even though they're natural gas too, they still get the same tax, that tax rate is the same.
Well, they still use diesel with their payloaders and their semis that take it to Indiana,
Sure.
so.
Yeah.
But I was just questioning the increase because.
No, it's a very, very good question, and, we looked at all those costs, and as I said, the other companies were competitive, but there was, cost savings, substantial cost savings on the new wave proposal based on the other two,
For the residents,
for the residents, correct.
not for the village. And then, Pat, unless they took that out, I thought, I don't see it in here. Wasn't there a franchise? Didn't they increase their franchise fee, what they give the village? I don't see it in
Yeah,
here.
it was increased to like 15,000.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so the village gets a check for, not that it's a lot, 3,000, but we used to get 12,000, so
Right.
now they're giving us a check for 15,000.
Yeah, it was $1 per household.
That no one else proposed.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Thanks, Mike.
Mr. Stockley. Any other comments? I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the Public Safety Committee meeting.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Very good, thank you.